Council special meeting will now be called to order. Madam Clerk.
Councilors Kadim?
Here.
Joseph Kamara?
Here.
Stephen Kamara?
Here.
Kilby?
Here.
Lullaby LeBeau? Here. Long?
Here.
Pelletier?
Here.
Viveras?
Here.
President Ponti?
Here. If everybody in the chamber can please rise for a moment of silent prayer. A salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. Just a couple of reminders for individuals who are new to council chambers here tonight. I'm going to ask for complete decorum in these chambers tonight. I ask for no outbursts, no clapping, no booing. We are in a floor of a city council meeting. We ask that everybody here respect the fact that you are here at this meeting tonight, and ask you to refrain from any clapping or making any noise while we are in session. There are police officers who are here tonight and present in case things need to be addressed. First item before us today is citizens input. I'm going to be reminding everybody that it's 3 minutes per person, which will be enforced for 3 minutes only. We will not be exceeding 3 minutes for the speakers. First person to sign up to speak is Patricia Casey, 26 Mount Hope Avenue, regarding city business. Please come down to the city council floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you all for allowing me the opportunity.
If you could turn your mic on.
Switch up.
Okay. Remember to do that. I got it.
There you go. Thank you. 3 minutes begins.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's great to be here tonight, and I thank God and I thank all the people who have prayed for me over the last couple of years, that now the last 4 weeks I feel like I'm 50 years old. About 5 weeks ago I felt like I was 100, so I want to thank everybody for all the prayers. But the reason I'm here in front of you tonight is to speak to you as a body that has got things in front of them that we don't have all the facts to. And I ask you, before any action is taken by any of you, that you will seek out and get the truth and get the facts before moving forward. I heard the press release today, and it brought back to me some things that occurred. Now, during the election of mayor, the last election, I was told, and this was not from a third party, this was not gossip, and it wasn't something that I overheard. It was told to me by the mayor's opponent that he would be led out of City Hall, the 6th floor, in handcuffs before the election occurred. Now that came directly from their lips to my ears. That is a fact. So when I heard the speaking about politics being involved in this, it certainly rang the bells off for me, because it's a situation that was being passed on, and like I said, what I heard from other people, but I heard directly from his opponent, and to me, that is politics in action. Another thing I would like to bring out is, anytime, for 18 years I served as a city councilor, and anytime I took a vote on anything that was in front of me, I always made sure there was no conflict of interest. The fact is, conflict of interest means you gain something out by voting one way or another. Well, I always made sure, because I would never have taken a vote if there was something in it for me. And yet I see in front of us there might be a vote taken tonight, and to me, it rings out to me there could be a conflict of interest. Because if right now I was sitting as president of this council and I voted on making the mayor be removed from his position
15 seconds.
until all the facts were out, then I would have a gain. And the gain would be I'd be acting mayor for the rest of the time. So to me, that's a gain, and that is a
Thank you very much,
situation,
Ms. Casey.
conflict
Thank you.
of
3 minutes is
interest.
up, Ms. Casey.
And I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next person to sign up to speak is C.J. Ferry, 300 Buffington Street, regarding city situation, city business. 3 minutes.
City Council President, members of the City Council. Fall River doesn't come in at the top of any lists that are good. On Thursday morning, we again came into the top of a list that isn't good. We got another black eye. Your job as City Council is to represent the will and interests of the people, not your own, not what you feel you should do for your purposes, but what you should do for the people. Right now, approximately 74% of the people in Fall River believe the mayor should resign. Approximately 74%. That's a lot of people. And that speaks volumes to us. We're not saying he's guilty. We're not saying he's innocent. We're saying that he has something else that he has to focus on tremendously to do that job. Just with his press conference today, we saw that he wasn't focusing on doing his job. He did a commercial for an app that failed him. That's all that was a commercial. That was done on city time with city employees there with him. Now, regardless of your vote today, if you vote with your 7-2 margin to remove him from office, this is going into court to be litigated, and it's about time this trial to be litigated. You can't just say, this is the way it is, like you've done with all the appointments where we've firmly believed that you can't have multiple people on boards. Your opinion on this is going to come from Joe Macy, obviously. And I respect Attorney Macy, but the problem is this. He's going to have to defend the city if this is brought to court and litigated by the mayor and his legal staff. And how can he present an opinion here and then defend it or defend the action of the city council, which may violate his opinion? It's not possible. That creates the conflict. That creates an area for him to recuse himself. And that's another reason why I firmly believe, and I firmly believe for many years, that the city council should have its own council. This way there are no questions. I believe that the city council will do what is right and appropriate for the people of Fall River. And I personally believe that, not for guilt or innocent, but for the good of Fall River, the mayor should step down. Nothing was ever said that he did something wrong as mayor, and nobody's contesting that. Nobody said that he has. But for the benefit of the people of Fall River and this great city that he claims to love so much, he should step down and resign. And if he doesn't want to do that, then the city council should remove him. Thank you.
Colin Dias, 560 Ray Street.
Greetings, Council President Pani, members of the City Council, onlookers, and the City of Fall River. In this last week, Mayor Correa has turned this city into a national disgrace. On Thursday, 13 federal charges were placed upon our mayor for deceiving investors, fraudulent acts, and filing false tax returns. According to the federal government, Mayor Correa has brought great shame upon our community. These charges are serious, and I believe the FBI would not have investigated the mayor for over a year and charged him with these crimes if their I's weren't dotted and these T's weren't crossed. I am not here because I want to be, nor am I happy to be here and speak and rally against the mayor. But my city and its reputation comes first. How would this city be able to receive state grants or funds or sustain economic development with this circus on the 6th floor. Mayor Correa is driving the city through the mud with his arrogance and his refusal to gracefully resign. Henceforth, I ask the City Council to take action and activate Section 3-8 of the Charter and remove Mayor Correa until this ongoing investigation is over for the greater good of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Carvalho, 360 Ferry Street.
Good evening, Council. Let me start by saying, before this meeting began, everybody took a pledge of allegiance to the flag. And with that flag also comes our Constitution. And you do have a responsibility to the people in Fall River, but you also have a responsibility as an American in the Constitution. I have no stake in the mayor whatsoever. I didn't even vote for him. But I think it's wrong what's being done to him. He does have the right to be innocent until proven guilty. With that said, he has done a good job. I'm really surprised. I didn't vote for him because of his age, but I'll tell you what, he really surprised me in what he's done for this city. I believe it's wrong to take a vote to vote him out. I believe that he has showed respect with speaking today, and if he didn't speak and he didn't say what he said, then, you know, it's always, if he didn't, he's damned. If he did, he's damned. Give the man a chance. I'm sure if he had too much on his plate with what's going on, he would be the first one to be smart enough to say, I can't serve the city, and resign. With that said, I just believe, as a United States citizen, I didn't come here as a Fall River citizen, but as an American, okay, that it's wrong to do any action against a man that has not been convicted. And if he is guilty and he is convicted, then we did the right thing. Remember, a lot of people have died for that flag. A lot of people have shed their blood for that flag and that Constitution. You have before you your charter, okay? And I understand that, and I understand the city's position with the charter, okay? But we have a bigger position with America. And with Fall River being in the spotlight right now, let's show them what America really is.
Thank you. Amy Blanchette, 724 2nd Street.
Good evening, Council President Ponte and Council. Thank you for calling this special meeting. I wish that I could come before you all with good news, because kind of frankly, I'm sick and tired of coming up here and having to defend bad news, like the Quikashon River Rail Trail and the bad water deal. But here we are again with another embarrassment to our city. And it's very unfortunate. My son came home following the indictment and said that his teacher had the kids read in class a couple of articles regarding the indictment. What kind of a message is that sending to our kids? That they have to read this. That they have to break down why the mayor was indicted. I remember when we took the oath in front of the youth for the youth violence prevention. I don't remember that being one of them. There's a lot of advocates in the community who've grown extremely tired and quite frankly hopeless by a lot of the things that have happened with the administration as of yet. And it's unfortunate because a lot of us have worked really hard for the city and we care about the city a great deal and we do love the city. But we also wouldn't be caught up in the mess that the mayor is in right now. And yes, innocent until proven guilty, but in the meantime we still have these charges hanging over his head, and how much time is that going to take away from his position? It's unfortunate that my son has to sit here with me tonight and sit through this meeting and see this, because even if I didn't vote for the mayor, he was a young mayor and I wanted to give him a chance. And to have to see the youth in this city see a young mayor go through these kind of charges, it's not just unfortunate, but it's disheartening, because in the future, who knows how many young people are going to be elected due to these incidents. I do feel that the mayor should resign. I don't know if the council has the power to do that through the charter, but I think it is the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Erica Scott, 187 Pittman Street.
Thank you, Council President Ponte, members of the City Council. My name is Erica Scott. I reside at 187 Pittman Street, which is in the Flint section of our neighborhood. I'm here tonight because I'm a transplant to our city, and I've come to love Fall River. I moved here approximately 5 years ago. None of my family are from Fall River. I work in Fall River for the Legal Services nonprofit. We help people stay in their homes, access safe, sanitary, affordable housing. We help elders with end-of-life issues, with people who have been unfairly denied benefits that are available to them. Every day, I work to help people in this city. I really love the people, and I do this work because I'm passionate about it, which is why I live here, because I think it's important to live in the city that you serve. That's how we build community power. I talk about loving the city, and I'm also a woman of faith. I note that the Bible says that love is the greatest commandment of all. And my understanding is we need to love our neighbor, with love being an action word, not a noun. I do the work that I do as an action. I love Fall River, and that's why I do this work. That's why I've been working to protect our city water, which Jason Correa sold to a fracking plant. That's why I've been working to protect our Quikasham River Rail Trail, which is threatened by a private easement given to a campaign donor. I'm here tonight because my love for the city continues. I'm asking you to please keep promoting our city in a positive light. I'm not from here. I have people all over the country, Canada, as far away as France, who have contacted me in the last 6 days to ask what is going on in Fall River. Before, people have been curiously intrigued by me residing in a city where Lizzie Borden made her famous wax. Now, we are famous for having a mayor who is obstinately saying he will stay despite these very serious federal charges. I moved to Fall River when the recall was just starting up, and I note that we recalled a previous mayor and a city councilor resigned, and neither of them were even charged with one crime. We are now faced with a mayor who has 13 charges, very serious charges. We, the people of Fall River, deserve a full-time mayor, not one who is going to be distracted by defending himself. I work for legal services and wholeheartedly understand and believe in our Constitution and the concept of due process. And I know you are not a court of law. You are the people charged with governing and being in leadership for our city. So I ask that you do the right thing and that you take a vote to remove the mayor and get our city back to stability, to progress, and to pride.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Camara, 127 Gagnon Street, Fall River.
Council President Ponte, City Council. I've been sitting here tonight listening about we need to get the facts and about interpretations of the charter, neither of which is what we're here for. We're here to determine if the mayor can continue being the mayor with these charges hanging over his head. The facts will be determined, the facts of this case will be determined by a judge. Everything we have is opinions. If you wait for that, we're going to have to wait till the end of the trial. The charter, which was vague and ambiguous from the beginning, from the day after, should be scrapped. But that also will ultimately get litigated away. What you have here before you is a charter that allows you to take a vote to determine if he is able to perform the duties. And remember, and I heard one of my brother veterans talk about this country, nobody is saying he is guilty. He has a constitutional right to due process, and he also has the presumption of innocence. But being the mayor of a city is different. That is one of the few jobs where perception is important, is as important as performance. Can a DA that's charged with murder continue to be a district attorney? Can someone who runs a daycare center who's charged with child molestation continue in that position? Perception. The perception of Fall River is already damaged in many, many areas. And we've heard a lot of diversionary rhetoric. And frankly, today was about the case. It was about the facts. I can't determine the facts. I'm not here to judge the mayor's innocence or guilt. That will be done by a court of law, because everything I have is an opinion, just like everybody else in this chamber. The mayor is assumed innocent, and he has due process guaranteed to him. But the question in this chamber tonight, and what you're voting on, and by the way, as a taxpayer and a citizen, I don't want to see any abstentions. I want to know how my elected representatives feel if he can do the job. Because in November of 2019, I'm going to remember, and I want to know how every single one of you feels. This is not about due process. This is not about guilt or innocence. This is about whether the mayor can function as the mayor with this hanging over his head. Because it's a fact of political life. It's a fact that people who are the DAs and who run certain jobs have, where perception is an integral part of adequate performance of their job. This is not about all this other baloney, because we're not going to decide that. There's no counselor in here and nobody in here that's going to decide the facts of this case, except a judge. When Judge Macy comes up and gives you his opinion, it's just that, an opinion. If I give you my opinion, it's my opinion. Any question on a charter would have to be litigated, and this case will have to be litigated. And when a judge comes down with a finding, then we will know what facts were felt to be accurate and what weren't. We're here to go abide by the charter, which says whenever by reason of sickness or other cause the mayor is unable to perform the duties of the office. So that's what we're here to look at. That's what the charter says. That's what you're here to vote on. Now, I know there's going to be legal challenges about what happens after on Section C, the succession, but that's, again, to be litigated. I want to hear what your positions are.
Thank you, Mr. Camara.
Okay. Before I go, I always give you a quote. So I'm going to give you one. Give me another 30 seconds here.
Can't have a third.
So you got to get one.
Very quickly, Mr. Camara.
You won't know this until the end. You should know it, because if you don't know it, next time you're in Boston, go to the New England Holocaust Museum. First they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak. You speak for us. There are going to be no winners after this, only losers.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Camara. Next person to sign up to speak, Jordan Sylvia, Barnaby Street. Mr. Sylvia, if you can indicate your address for the record when you come to the table, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ponte. Jordan Sylvia. I live on Whipple Street in the city. Just revised that quote by Chipper. First they came for threw up in Fall River and nobody cared, and now look where that's got us. Just want to share too. I just saw former Mayor Will Flanagan walk in a few moments ago. 2 out of the last 3 mayors in Fall River share the same criminal defense attorney in Kevin Reddington. I think that's a pertinent point, salient point to make for where the city stands with its political leadership today. Can't believe what I saw today. The poorly done infomercial by the mayor. I'll say the elephant in the room. Mayor J.Z. Correa, according to that indictment, mega criminal. Lied 1 million times since 2013 to his friends, his family, investors, everyone in this city. He's a big thief. He was stealing while mayor of Florida. This is I'm citing what was in the indictment. He stole up until I think 2016 when that account was finally overdraft thousands. So he was stealing from people while mayor of Florida. I don't believe he hasn't committed any crimes as the mayor. He's probably committed many state crimes. The $20,000 payment from the city marijuana company that they just gave him after he wrote them a weed selling permission slip. One of the investors, which one of the councilors has as a brother here, never asked the FBI to investigate his stolen money because he ended up in a job for BCTC. That's got to be multiple state crimes. I'd like to see like Moore Healy State Police, somebody investigate that. His defense today was the fact that he did have an app. No one cares that he had like this terrible app we've been making fun of for like several years. It's the fact that he stole most of the money, right, which is why he's facing 13 felony counts, 192 years in prison. People are saying that he may not be able to, the charter thing may be ambiguous. I'm sure that's what Judge Macy, who doesn't work for the city of Florida, he works for J.Z. Cray, is going to say whatever J.Z. wants him to say tonight. If it's like if we elected what I think Chipper was saying, it's like if we elected like Charles Manson and then was like all of a sudden there's a million rules. The charter review took a year. There's a million rules for like peons like me. I get warnings about how I recycle my pizza boxes, and you're going to tell me that you can steal like $250,000 and the kid he's forced to receive a paycheck from the city. That's why government is corrupt. Democracy is kind of a joke, especially in Fall River. I just hope tonight, like clearly there's an out there. Leo, I saw what you said in the Herald News about he should go. Man, I give you a lot of respect for that. Pam, I saw what you were doing in the paper as well, kind of like you were pushing this whole thing. The mayor of Fall River is an absolute crook. That's been clearly identified in that indictment. This isn't like Kavanaugh, where 30 years ago someone said something that can't be corroborated. They're forensic accounting on this kid for like years and years, right? So he's a thief, and it's a wicked embarrassment for the city. He will be put in jail. You don't steal from the IRS, right? They steal from all of us. You don't steal from them. He's going to jail. I hope to God that he doesn't stay receiving a paycheck. I know he needs to. He's been evicted. I think it's going to take all of you, minus maybe 3. Like I said, I'm sure some people will vote to keep this kid in here. Anybody who votes to keep him in office is worse than him, because now we have, the benefit of hindsight to see what he's done. There's no question about what he's done. He's been a terrible mayor, by the way. He sat in office while the economy nationally did well, so he's stolen more money from people and spent more money. That's his big claim to fame. Which again, maybe that makes him the best person for the job. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys are super criminal. Thank you.
Dawn Charette, 1984 Robeson Street. I need decorum in this chamber, please. Is there a motion to waive the rules? We're past 30 minutes. Motion to waive the rules has been made by Councilor Kilby, seconded by Council Vice President LeBeau. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Councilor President, Council, thank you very much for letting me have this time. I don't normally use notes, but I'm a little upset lately, so I'm going to go ahead and use a little cheat sheet. I'm not here about a person. I'm not here about a person's choices. I'm not here about a guilty or an innocent man. I'm here about my city. And I think I'm concerned with good reason, because there are people who are far more intelligent, far more experienced in the world of politics, who are very concerned for our city. I'm referring to Governor Baker, Lieutenant Governor Polito, Kennedy, Keating, all of these people. Not me, not just, your little housewife. These are people with a true experience in legislature. They are concerned for the business of our city, and they have all publicly asked for this mayor to resign or to step aside. I understand that this mayor is young and he's got a lot of fight in him. He's going to need it. I don't have any ill will toward him or any one of you here, but I'm asking you to take the guidance of those who are in much higher positions than all of us here and understand that those are the people we rely on as taxpayers, as voters, as citizens, for our quality of life in this city. Nothing gets done if nobody wants to do business with you. And I'm very concerned that going forward, our city is looked upon now with great scrutiny, because as long as this mayor is sitting while he's fighting for his freedom, I don't believe that he can fight for us, and no one is going to take him seriously. I'm very concerned that if we don't have him step down or step aside, that there will be irreparable damage. We have a high school being built. We have a waterfront that's expanding. We have businesses coming in. We have a brand new shopping center. All of these things, we need to continue. We don't want to go backward. So I'm asking you to please, all of us as citizens, as your constituents, asked you to hold this meeting. We all begged you to be here. There's a reason for it. I'm not running for office. Never in a million years would I want to sit even in your seats. So I can tell you that I'm here out of concern for the safety and the good of my city, because I've been here. I'm an old lady, 50 years I've been here, and I'm not planning to leave anytime soon.
15 seconds.
So please take into consideration that this is something that we have to do. And I understand that if this vote does not hold and it's contested, that we are still in trouble. So I've taken a step, and I thought I should tell you what it is. I've started the process for a recall just this afternoon before coming in here. And if anybody would like to join in and help with this recall, if this mayor refuses to step aside for the good of his city, you can reach me and several others at 508-491-8698.
Thank you, Ms. Charette.
Thank you for your time.
Next person I sign up to speak.
Mr. President.
Excuse me.
Mr. President. Point of
Councilman
information.
C3, what's your point of information?
Mr. President, you made a point of saying that you were going to maintain decorum, and yet just
Counselor.
now you allowed 2 applause with no comment.
Counselor.
I think that's inconsistent,
Councilor, thank you.
and I'd appreciate
Counselor,
consistency.
thank you, Counselor. Counselor, thank you. Sir, if you say another word, you're going to leave the chamber. Officer? Next person to sign up to speak is Leslie Rich, 201 Duxbury Street in Warwick, Rhode Island. Is there a motion to waive the rules? Is there a motion to waive the rules?
Can we get a 5-minute recess?
5-minute recess? 5-minute recess. Forest City Council meeting will now be back to order. Next person to sign up to speak is Leslie Rich, 201 Duxbury Street, Warwick, Rhode Island. Is there a motion to waive the rules? Motion to waive the rules has been made by Councilor Stephen Kamara. Is there a second? Second by Council Vice President LeBeau. All those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Rich?
Mr. President, Councilor in seat 7 had his hand raised.
Councilor in C7, Councilor Pelletier.
How many more people are going to speak?
After Mr. Rich, 1, 2, 3, 4.
4 more.
4 more people.
Okay, I yield.
Thank you.
Mr.
Councilor in
President, if we could
C4.
just clarify for the audience that we're waiving the rules, not so he can speak longer, because he's from out of town.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Rich?
Yes, thank you, Council President, councilors. I'm here at the request of a Fall River citizen to basically give my opinion about the rights of the City Council under Section 3.8 of the Charter. The Charter is basically the Constitution of the City of Fall River, and basically this is the highest law within the City of Fall River. Section 3.8 basically gives the obligation to the City Council to determine whether the mayor is unfit to perform his duties. There is no ambiguity, in my opinion, as to the words of the Charter. This is contradictory to what I've heard that the Corporate Council has said. The Corporate Council think there is some ambiguity. But if you read the Charter very clearly, it says that it's either sickness or other cause. And then it says it's up to the City Council to make the determination as to what the other cause is. Now, historically in the country, the people have been removed for crimes, for disabilities, for numerous things. But it's really up to the City Council to determine what that cause is. And the city charter makes it clear that this is your obligation. It says shall determine. So that I don't see any wiggle room. It's like you can't say that, well, the Charter Commission intended it to mean this and intended to that. When you have a constitution, a law, if the 4 corners of that law are very clear and unambiguous, then you have to follow that law. So I would challenge to say that the mayor, who is the symbolic head of the city, is really also the ethical head of the city, and that this could be considered an ethical incapacity, and that the City Council can determine that that is a cause among any other cause you might think of. But from what I've seen, not to make any determination, it's just a matter of can a person whose ethics have been challenged lead this community. And so I would basically present to you that you have that ability, and I think that would prevail in any type of court challenge to as far as your ability to make that determination. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person that signed up to speak is Michael Mioza, 84 Holland Street, regarding the city charter.
Mike Mioza, 84 Holland Street. Good evening, Council President and councilors. As you know, I was the former chair of the Fall River Charter Commission and a proud framer of the charter. Let me just start off by saying that the Charter Commission, when we were deliberating the aspects of our local government, we never anticipated the sad events that have occurred with our mayor over this past week. Now, what I'd like to do just briefly in the 3 minutes I have is to aid you in your discussions this evening. I just want to draw your attention to a few sections of the charter that I believe will be relevant and helpful to you. First, the council president, thank you if you're taking notes. The council president does have the authority to call a special meeting per section 2-6. And furthermore, under 2-7, page 29, the city council as a body has the authority to make investigations into the affairs of the city and into the conduct and performance of any city agency, and I would say that would include the executive branch. Another section of the chart I'd like to call your attention to is on page 13, and this has been brought up a couple of times tonight. Article 3, Executive Branch, Section 3-1A, Mayor Qualifications, whereby it states, the mayor shall devote full time to the office. And I'll let the council deliberate whether they feel the mayor can devote full time to the office. But let's talk about the sections 3-8 that Attorney Leslie just talked about, and I totally disagree with his premise, because if you look at the header, it says temporary absence of the mayor. The mayor is not absent. Okay, you can't just select and choose the words that you want to make your argument here. You have to look at the provision in its entirety. And I went back and looked at the tapes. I've spoken to the consultants from the Charter Commission, and I am clear that this section does not apply to permanently removing the mayor from office. The only way that you can do that, and the Charter does give you the ability to do that, is through the recall process, 8-5. The people elected the mayor. The people should be the only ones to remove the mayor, in my opinion. So I concur. Now, Attorney Macy and I don't agree more times than not, but I did have a chance just to read his opinion tonight, and I do agree with what he's written. And he makes this comment. Ultimately, it's up to it's really in the hands of the voter to determine whether the mayor or each one of you get to serve. So I think, for me, I just want to see this done right, and I think that Dawn Surratt is doing it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Fernandez, 360 2nd Street, regarding city business.
Good evening, Council President, Cliff Pont, and all the city councils here. My name's Peter Fernandez. My family, I was born in Portugal. My family immigrated into this city. You know, we brought up Portuguese. My parents came here, worked their life. They worked hundreds and hundreds of hours a week. Eventually, over a couple of years, they established the restaurant, and which has been successful. They renovated it recently, and it was through a lot of hard work. And you know, I have a real estate business here in Fall River as well, and we love this city, and we always believed that there was a possibility that things would turn around. But I've seen a lot of things where, you know, there was a lot of politicians come in and they promise you the world and nothing would ever happen, and that was always a struggle, just in all politics as a whole. And you know, when Jaziel got elected, you know, I'm going to be honest, I didn't vote for him the first time. As a matter of fact, I never really voted for anybody. I just didn't believe in anything. But when he came into the city, it was at a deficit. It was at a deficit. You know, the city was in receivership. It wasn't possible. You know, and today, fast forward to 3 years later, the city has almost $10 million in the bank. You know, roads being repaired at a rate never before seen. You know, increased police department, fire department, no teachers being laid off, you know, and that to me is, you know, that's action, because we create with words, but our action is what makes things manifest and turn them into a reality, and that's what's happening. You know, he's done a tremendous job. He's transformed the whole city, and, you know, now he's getting charged, and, you know, I got to know Jaziel, you know, didn't know him from a hole in the wall. I met him through my sister, and let me tell you something. He's one of the most authentic, down-to-earth, humble individuals. Once you get to know him, he's a phenomenal individual. Phenomenal. And that's all I have to say. And I just encourage the court to give him a chance. I mean, he's been running the city phenomenally, right? He has a team of attorneys that are going to do their job, and I don't see why he can't continue to do what he does. I mean, why do I know this? Because he loves this city. He's obsessed. That's all he talks about is the city of Fall River, what he's going to do with the roads, what he plans on doing here and there, and everything that he's done. So, and that's my story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles Chase, 3723 North Main Street.
Mr. President, City Council members, I haven't been over here for a long, long time, but this kind of got to me. This newspaper pictures of 5 of the members of the council who had already convicted someone. I don't know how that got out there, but it certainly does smack of what happened in Washington with Kavanaugh. Mr. President, could you have them ejected?
Please continue your speech, please.
That was very much a political play over there. Guilty until innocent. People being brought in there, lying. Now we know that they have lied. But everybody was believing the newspapers and the other media. It really hurt me to see 5 of the people of the city that I've been here for 35 years or so, that the city councilors would go out there and charge someone, say, this person is no good, get him out of here. No. He is innocent until he is proven guilty. I don't care what you think. There's not much more that I could say, except that I've been very happy with the mayor. I'm a Republican. In the city, that's a death knell if you're ever going to go into politics or something or talk about politics. But I did vote for him. I wanted to give him 1 year's chance to see what he was going to do, whether he's going to do it, keep his promises or not. What happened with the property taxes? Anybody know? Did they go up like they did with the previous mayors? How about the garbage? That $10. That $10 fee was done away with. City Council didn't like money being done away with, right? Think of the people who, like me, are on Social Security. We try to make a little extra somewhere, but that $10 a month, it adds up. And he tried to do, what was the other one? The purple bags. Anything that is to do with taxes, it seems that over here, that's all you care about. Getting more taxes, getting more power. No, that's not what government's about. Government is about doing what's good for the people. And it was just mentioned about the roads. There have been so many potholes that have been complained about over the years, and the roads right now are finally getting fixed.
15 seconds.
Thank you to the mayor for that, and also for President Trump, who is a... Could they be evicted if they do it? I need more time because of that. He set an example of doing things, whether people liked the way he talked or the way he did it. He did things. The mayor has done the same thing.
Thank you.
Until he is convicted.
Thank you very much.
Then he should be left in office.
Thank you. Next person to sign up to speak is Emerald Gardette. If you can state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the City Council. I did not intend to speak this evening. However, I feel it's my duty that I do speak and express my thoughts. As a young man, I spent the early part of my life in the military. I have an honorable discharge from the United States Marine Corps. I have an honorable discharge from the United States Navy, and I am an honorably disabled veteran. And for the Constitution, we, the people, rely on you people to make the decisions. Whatever decision you make tonight, I will still love you all. I will have no hard feelings at all. But I have to say, a few years ago, as president of the Maplewood Association, a young man came before us, very articulate, very well dressed, and offered his assistance to some problems that we were having. He was not appointed to City Council, he was elected. People say he was appointed, although he did fill a vacancy, he still had the people who voted for him and put him in that position. And at that time, I saw a future for this young man, and I offered my assistance to him for any office that he wanted to run. And he is our mayor, and I think that we should rely on what we hear from our own attorneys. Lawyers are paid to differ. No matter where you go to court, you have lawyers on one side or the other. And I say that we should pay attention to our attorney and what he has to say. The problem with the mayor is up to you to decide. I hope that we do not go for a recall. I don't see spending another $65, $75, or $85,000 for a recall when within a year from now we'd be having another election anyway. So I'm saying this to you I have a lot of experience in my life. 25 years as a city councilor, 16 years as a county commissioner, 14 years as chairman. And never have I ever had to make a decision like you have to make here this evening. And we, the people, are we're relying on you to make the proper decision after you hear from what our own lawyer has to say. With that, and I see many of the former city councilors here tonight, and I'm sure that they feel the same way, that they would not want to have to make the decision that you have to make. And with this, I say, whatever you do, I'll still support you, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda is discussion regarding the recent issues relating to Mayor Jazel Career in accordance with Section 3.8 of the City Charter. And I want to begin tonight, which is a little different than we usually do, because I've been personally, and I'm sure my colleagues as well, have been personally receiving lots of calls from local media within the city. So I want to begin by making my comments tonight, and then I'll entertain other councilors. I think we would all agree that Fall River is a beautiful city with great, honest, hard-working people. And I wish we were all here for better news. However, we've called this meeting this evening to discuss our mayor, who was arrested last week and is under federal criminal indictment. I strongly believe in the presumption of innocence. Our criminal justice system is one thing that makes our country so great. We have a right to confront our accusers and have trial by jury of our peers. The mayor is a young man with a family and life ahead of him, and I do pray that he will be able to one day put his serious legal troubles behind him. But with that said, we also have to be realistic on how much pressure the mayor must be under, how much of a distraction this must be for him on his ability to lead and perform his duties. And we must also be mindful of the image and reputation of our city. As president of this council tonight, I am respectfully requesting that Mayor Jazel Career step down until he resolves his legal matters. Also under Article 3, Section 3-8, this council has the power to temporarily remove the mayor from his duties as mayor. and I will be voting if that is before us tonight in the affirmative. The mayor's indictment brings his character and ability to lead into question. Currently, there is a three-ring circus being performed in our city right now, and the mayor, unfortunately, is the ringmaster. The current state of our city with Mayor Carrera at the helm is uncertain, unstable, and with an ongoing investigation, there possibly could be even more criminal charges. It is my hope that my fellow councilors will be joining me in a yes vote this evening, requesting that the mayor immediately step aside from his role. Also, I want to be perfectly clear that if the embattled mayor refuses to recognize the lawful vote of this council and do the right thing, as council president, I am prepared to strongly advocate that this council obtain outside, independent legal counsel to seek judicial action to have the mayor temporarily removed. I conclude by saying if the mayor truly loves Fall River, then he should step down. Stop the heartache that has caused this city, focus on his legal battles, and allow this city that we all love to move forward. Councilor in seat 1, Councilor Kadim.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I concur with your statements this evening. Before we start, I think, as you tried to articulately state, that there's a difference between trying to remove the mayor from office and the temporary leave of absence. I did file a letter with yourself to have this meeting before us. I did have conversations with Corporation Counsel in regards to the letter I did draft. Unfortunately, we all know why we're here. J. Zalef Carrera II has been indicted on 9 counts of wire fraud, 4 counts of false statements and tax returns, and those 13 counts have a maximum sentence of 192 years imprisonment. And today the mayor had a press conference and in his own words stated that it is intimidating and it is scary and it has drained him financially, mentally, and physically. Now, if that is not something that we would all be faced with going through this, I can't imagine trying to currently run and operate a city of roughly 90,000 people. The serious nature of the accounts before him of defrauding investors and the false statements of tax returns directly violates the public's trust and questions the fundamental ability to serve and protect this city. And with that, I think the charter, and I'm in disagreement with the Corporation Council, I think the charter does allow this city council by 7 votes to temporarily relieve him of his duties of mayor, and that the city council president should indeed take over. And I'll be prepared to make a motion shortly. But I do want to ask if I could waive the rule, have a motion to waive the rules to ask the Corporation Council to come down and just clarify a couple of
Waive the rules by
items.
Councilor Kadim. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Pelletier. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The ayes have it. Corporation Council Macy.
Thank you for coming down. Just quickly before, I know Mr. Mayoza did come down referencing his work on the charter. He did bring up a couple of interesting items. The first is that the charter does state, in fact, that the mayor shall devote full time. And I guess the question would also be that if he does not, and he's dealing with a federal criminal charges in the court case that would take some time away from that, that would then just, in my mind, make him absent. Under Section 3-8, temporary absence of the mayor, the Home Rule Charter states, whenever by reason of sickness or cause the mayor is unable to perform the duties of the office, the president of the city council shall be the acting mayor unless the president of the city council is unable or willing to serve. In such instance, the provision of Section 3-8C shall apply. The City Council, by the affirmative vote of 7 members, shall determine whether the mayor is unable to perform the duties of the office. You and I have had a lengthy conversation, I believe it was on Friday.
Friday, about 4 o'clock.
Going back and forth on our opinions, and again, I'm not an attorney, you are. You've been a judge before, and I think we've gone back and forth, and I've got your legal opinion here, and I just want to again, reiterate my questions, my statements, my opinion of the charter, and get your thoughts to get them on record. In my mind, it's very clear that the City Council has the authority by 7 votes to determine whether the mayor is unable to perform the duties of the office. Is that correct?
It says you have the City Council by the affirmative vote of 7 members shall determine whether the mayor is unable to perform the duties of the office.
So that's within our jurisdiction
That's what it
and
says.
authority. In terms of, we had back and forth conversations about reason of sickness or other causes. I think reasons of sickness is pretty straightforward. Other causes, you and I differ on what the other causes are.
That's right.
You particularly have given us a legal opinion which states physical or medical disability or geographic impossibility as other causes. Are those the only other potential other causes that might create an absence?
Well, they're the only ones that I could come up with, because physical could mean any sort of incapacity. It could mean being in a coma. It could mean being in a bad accident that disables the mayor for 3 to 4 days. Some other medical condition, and geographical simply would mean incommunicado in some country, if there is one, that doesn't have cell phones, Wi-Fi, and the ability to communicate with the office.
But there could very well be, outside of a physical or medical disability or geographical disability, that could be a cause for absence.
Well, let me put it this way. There certainly could be many causes. There are 2 problems with Section 3.8. One is it doesn't define other cause, and the other is it doesn't define what unable to perform the duties are. So you could create a host of possibilities, and I could say, no, that I don't think that comes under the charter. You could create another one and say, yeah, that would be a disability. I just listed a few. So I, in my opinion, and I suppose we'll get to all of it, I hope, indicated that it is my opinion, and somebody said it, although I think they were, kind of attempting to pick on me. It's an opinion, which it is. I don't believe, it's my considered legal opinion, that the clauses you're talking about apply to the current situation where a validly elected mayor has been indicted but neither convicted nor sentenced. Now, I want to say something, and then if I'm out of the order you wanted to discuss it in, I'll go back. What Mr. Rich said is an absolute misapprehension of the law. He's about 0 for 3 in cases with Fall River, including the Easy case, which he lost in about 10 minutes. But most importantly, over and above my interpretation, the case of Turner versus Boston, which is on the 2nd page, has a lot of ramifications over and above whatever I say the charter means or says. And it's important for this reason. First of all, it's not the leading case in Massachusetts. It's the only case. I've had other lawyers working on this. I've had my own office working on it. And the Turner case, which involves an indicted city councilor in the city of Boston, is the only case dealing with this. And why it's significant is for a number of reasons. One, the charter is not our Constitution. The Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts is our Constitution, and the state statutes govern what we do even under the charter. And why that's important is because, and it's cited in my opinion, but I think for those who haven't read it, I'd like to read it. The Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court rules specifically that while the City Council, which is the City Council of Boston, was authorized to promulgate Rule 40A, which allowed them to discipline and perhaps remove one of their members, it did not have the authority under the charter of the city of Boston or under any provision of state law to remove Turner from office.
So I think...
Well, let me just go on. We're going to get to it one way or the other. The court stated the rule has been that municipalities in Massachusetts have no power to remove public offices except that which is given by the statute. The election, removal, or replacement of public officials are subjects of elaborate legislation, and in the absence of any provision for their removal, they cannot be removed by a vote of the town, either with or without a hearing before the town or a committee thereof. The removal or suspension of a public officer requires specific constitutional or legislative authorization. And the Supreme Court says we take from both the Massachusetts Constitution and the general laws that phrase. There is a statute, General 27930, and the court says the legislature has mandated specifically that one who holds office, including one who holds municipal office, is automatically removed from office only when he or she is sentenced to prison or on a felony conviction in a state or federal court. We conclude that the city charter does not provide the requisite authority for the city council's removal of Turner from office before he was sentenced to prison. Now that is the law in Massachusetts according to the Supreme Judicial Court. That's not Joe Macy's opinion. That's not my interpretation. Those are the words of the Supreme Court.
I recognize and I appreciate that. The only flaw in the flaw that we've been hearing the whole entire time is the fact that people keep on suggesting that we are going to remove the mayor from office. And I am telling you that we have no authority whatsoever to remove the mayor.
Okay, we agree, because that's what you told me Friday, and that's what I told you, and that's what I just told you. So we agree.
Attorney Macy, let Councilor in seat one finish, please.
And I'm not suggesting we're going to remove him from mayor. What I am suggesting is that under Section 3-8, we have the ability, legal terminology, shall determine whether the mayor is unable to perform the duties of the office. So a vote tonight by the City Council, we can make a determination if the mayor is unable to perform the duties of office. If he is, there's a temporary leave, in my mind, a temporary leave of absence. He's still mayor. We're just removing the duties. And that's the concern I have, is the duties to run the day-to-day operations of the city in the best interest of the citizens of Fall River. And with that, so if he wants to go do ribbon cut-ins, have press conferences, he can do all that. But the day-to-day duties will be given to the acting mayor on a temporary basis. Now, I agree with you. If we want to remove him, the recall process. We know what the recall process is like. There was an individual who came down and spoke about already filing the paperwork to begin the recall process. But in my mind, I think we need to start talking about running the city of Fall River. And again, I will go back to the mayor's own words. It is intimidating. It is scary. It has drained me financially, mentally, and physically. I, as one counselor, cannot even begin to think or understand how I would be able to deal with federal indictments, roughly 192 years in jail, and think that my priority is going to be the city of Fall River and running this office. Okay? The other thing is also there's a legal defense fund that has been set up. Okay? And I know we don't want to get into this, but this is the reality of the situation. There are letters of non-oppositions that are given to medical marijuana companies, and the only way you can get a license is for a letter of non-oppositions. And I am not suggesting this. I am just saying that if you look at the facts, there are companies who have donated thousands of dollars into that legal defense fund. Some could make the accusation that the city is for sale, and I don't want that moving forward. There is going to be a lot of costs associated with a criminal case. We've already heard him say it has drained me financially. That's one case. In terms of the day-to-day operation, if this was anybody else, if it was the chief of police, the fire chief, it was the superintendent, if it was you that had these federal indictments against them, you would either be put on paid administrative leave, unpaid administrative leave, or terminated. We can just go back to Mike Aguiar. When he went on a trip using HUD funds, and he decided that he was going to stay at a very expensive hotel, the mayor fired him immediately. Okay, so if it was any other department head, he would at least be removed from his duties. So this council has the authority under Section 3-8 to put the mayor on paid administrative leave. So let's put him on paid administrative leave. We shall make a determination that the mayor is unable to perform his duties, take those duties, give it to the council president. The council president will then have those duties until there is some type of resolution, conclusion to the federal case that he's dealing with, or until the citizens of Fall River or the voters of Fall River have their ability to exercise their right to vote for the office of mayor.
Let me just make one point, and I don't want to get into the policy or anything else. That's not my job. I've always tried to stay in my lane. I haven't always been successful. But with respect to what you just said, I don't see the authority to put him on paid leave or pay something, but that's up to you, I suppose. However, as a practical matter, I think it's incumbent on me to point out another somewhat lost paragraph in my opinion. Section 3.8b severely circumscribes the powers of an acting mayor. It does not, reading the literal language, allow the acting mayor to do the day-to-day business of the city. It confines an acting mayor to, and this is a quote, those powers of the mayor as are indispensable and essential to conduct the business of the city in an orderly and efficient manner, and on which action may not be delayed. So that doesn't say the acting mayor runs the city on a daily basis doing everything. It says only that he can act on matters which are indispensable and essential and on which action may not be delayed. Now, I realize that's the other shoe that has to drop. It doesn't drop until you do something under 8C, but I just want to make sure that we're clear that the idea that, okay, there's an acting mayor, he just runs the city, that's not what the charter says.
Well, and somebody can make an argument that the essential duties to conduct business could be almost anything.
Well, Councilor, I think you're right in this respect. You and I can make arguments about what's essential, what's not. We've had this discussion very civilly in my office. We're having it, I think, very civilly now. Whatever is done, and then we will have to deal, we meaning you, the mayor, myself, and the city, with the consequences. Inevitably, if you take the course you're talking about, we're going to wind up in court. I've given you my opinion. My opinion is my opinion.
And I appreciate that. And I just want to clarify the paid leave. I know it doesn't specifically say paid leave, but that's essentially, if you were to look at paid leave versus what Section 3-8 would suggest, that we have the ability to determine that he doesn't have the ability to perform the duties of the mayor is essentially.
Well, I guess that's the problem. I mean, you can take the situation and say, well, okay, it doesn't say paid leave, but we'll give him paid leave. And it says only essential duties, but we'll let him do the day-to-day business. I do say in my opinion that it's important to realize that the above is written in advance of any meeting or vote and to provide some legal guidance. Once this council does whatever it does, certainly the city will respond appropriately. I think there's somewhere around, I think there's a letter from the mayor's lawyers saying they'll go to court. If they don't, somebody else will. And if they do, we'll confront that issue. And just to put one other kind of canard to rest, I don't know if I've discussed it with you, but I know I've discussed it with the council president. If and when we have to go to court, I will represent the city, and I will secure co-counsel to represent the city. If the city council is a party to any litigation, my office will fund an independent counsel to represent the city council. How we choose that lawyer, if we get to that, which I hope we don't, will be between me, the president, and whoever else he wants to consult. So I just want a couple of things to be clear. My opinion is my opinion. Nobody told me what to write. Nobody told me how to write it. And I do what I think is best based on my legal judgment. That's number one. Number two, I've said what I have to say, and there is that gray area that you and I disagree with. There is, in my opinion, no gray area as far as what 3.8b, the powers of any acting mayor can be. And I just wanted everybody to understand that if the city goes to court for any reason, the city will be well protected.
Well, I appreciate it, and I don't want to really belabor the point because I'm going to be making a motion, and I anticipate that there will be strategically an objection, so all discussion will probably hence it thereafter shortly. So we will probably be back at the next city council. But at this time, Mr. President, I would like to make a motion, and I move that the Fall River City Council, as allowed for under the Home Rule Charter, determine that Jazel F. Correa II is unable to perform the duties of the office of mayor, and that effective immediately, the President of the City Council shall assume the role of acting mayor until such time as the federal criminal charges that have been brought against Jazel F. Correa II by the United States of America have been resolved, or until the next scheduled city election where the voters of Fall River have the opportunity to exercise their vote for the office of mayor.
Motion. I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made. Motion has been made by Councilor Kadim, seconded by Councilor Kilby. Discussion on the motion. Discussion on the motion. Councilor in seat 6, Councilor Long.
This is,
Your microphone, Councilor.
I'm sorry, point of information, Mr. President. Could we have that motion in writing so we can review it?
If the councilor could give his notes and we can make copies, and that's appropriate. Councilor in seat 6, you have the floor.
You know, this is amazing to me that, and it hurts to be here tonight. And we talk about the legal process, and eventually, I guess, we'll have lawyers running the city, I guess, the for and against, and a judge in between. I just want to make a statement here about where I'm at. I've been conflicted. I'm confident in this city. I'm confident in my colleagues. I'm confident in administration. But I'm also confident in our criminal justice systems. And I'm confident in our law enforcement entities. I've been conflicted between the relationships I've developed here, my friendships, my constituents, the people that have been contacting me over the last week, both for and against, on this single issue. But I took an oath to represent this city to the best of my ability, and I plan on doing that. I've searched for answers, and I've looked at the legal processes. I was going to make a motion tonight, but maybe this one will precede it. But in the process of this, I was going to make a motion for a charter amendment to seek the approval of the state legislature for an amendment to the Fall River City Charter, which states unequivocally, notwithstanding any other provision of the charter or any other law in the general court, to the contrary, no person may be admitted to nor permitted to hold or continue to hold elective office in the city of Fall River while said person is under indictment by any federal or state authority for any reason, whether or not the reason for any indictment arises out of the conduct incident to said person's public or elective office. I am shocked that I sat here, I've gone to the state, I look at feds, I've talked to everybody, that there is no law that says these are serious, serious charges. And we go back and forth and we talk about political incentives, and I find it very, very difficult to believe that a U.S. attorney, state's attorney, or any of those enforcement agencies could be corrupted for political purposes. It bothers me. It bothers me when those charges are filed. It bothers me when charges are filed that may not be true. Like I said, I've developed relationships and friendships, and my heart goes out to those people that are involved in this fiasco. and I hope in the end we work it out, but the city of Fall River has had enough. And when these things become personal, and they have, it's time to take them on the person's side and let the city of Fall River move ahead. Very, very difficult for me, and my heart goes out to them, but I will be supporting probably the motion, and we'll let this go to court, and the attorneys will make their arguments, and we'll see where that goes. And I think the recallers are doing the right process, but I can't believe that we, as a council of the city of Fall River, don't have the ability to make these decisions here. They're tough decisions. I make them with a heavy heart sometimes, but I will make them in the best interest of this city, and that's the way I'm going to follow this, and that's the way I'm going to go. And so with that, I'm going to yield and leave it to the rest of my councilors, but that's how my vote's coming, and that's why I want people to understand why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for my city, and maybe some of the people around me don't like it. I just want them to understand what my heart is. So with that, I yield.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor in seat 3, Councilor Camara.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank all the public input folks. I think they were very respectful and very on target in their 3-minute presentations. This is not an easy decision, obviously, to be involved in anything that relates to all of this. But I want to first of all clarify something, and I was looking for the word that the Herald News used when they referred to, I believe, 6 of us as being something, committed, or whatever the word was, committed to the mayor's removal. I know I was listed as stay. My colleague in seat 2 was listed as undecided, and my colleague in seat 8 was listed as no comment. Well, I would not take a position to ask the mayor to stay. So in terms of, and I know I've been a critic of the media and particularly fake news as it is, but I want to underscore that never would I take a position that someone else who holds public office should stay. What I do take the position on, and it was, I think, reported correctly in the article itself, was that it's not my responsibility. It is not this council's responsibility to take action to remove a mayor from office, either temporarily or permanently. There are 3 ways that a mayor can be removed from office. One is that the mayor can resign, and that's his choice. The second is that the mayor can be recalled, and that's the people's choice, because they are his boss. We're not his boss. The people elected him. The people elected us. The people are our boss. So the people can remove him from office through the recall process. Or third, he could be convicted of a felony, in which case then he would automatically be removed from office. As I see it, those are the 3 opportunities for the mayor to no longer be the mayor. And I have dwelled on this charter for a bit. And one of the things I did do when I first arrived today was I looked at the first section of the charter, which referred to the powers and divisions of power. And it indicates that the administration of the fiscal, prudential, and municipal affairs of the city shall be vested in an executive branch headed by a mayor, and a legislative branch consisting of a city council. The legislative branch shall never exercise any executive power, and the executive branch shall never exercise any legislative power. That's section 1(3), division of powers. If this council moves toward the adoption of this motion, it will in fact be interfering with the administrative responsibilities of government. And I would find it very hard to understand how anyone who might financially benefit from that decision I would assume an acting mayor would get more than a city council salary. Maybe yes, maybe no. But certainly would be put into a position that would be administrative. And the council has no jurisdiction over interfering with the administrative process. So, one of the thought I've had, too, because I have very good friends who have been on both sides of this issue, and I'm sure this is true of all my colleagues, who have lobbied me to take one side or another side. And I liken it to mob mentality. We are still wounded. We're all wounded by the action that that occurred as a result of the indictment. We're wounded by that. But for us, within how many days of that, are ready to, I think, turn the city upside down by having a mayor collecting a salary and not doing any work, an acting mayor who has limited ability to function as the mayor because he can't do what a mayor can do. We're going to put a council in conflict to go to court and spend our taxpayers' hard-earned and hard-paid money to have us legally represented against a mayor. It's just bordering on a gut reaction to a response that needs deliberation. Now, if this council wants to pursue the action that's being considered, and I've never seen it in my 23 years of serving on a council, but if they want to have a hearing to determine the feasibility or the mental capacity or the physical capacity of the mayor to do his job, well, then let's have a full-blown hearing. We always watch them on C-SPAN when Congress is doing it. They bring in experts, experts that might be in the medical field, experts that might be in other fields, psychological evaluations. And let's evaluate whether or not this mayor can function as mayor. Do we want to do that? But if we do want to take a position to disrupt a man's life who is innocent until proven guilty, disrupt all the goodwill that Fall River is, because when the press approached me, I said, listen, Fall River is doing great. We're moving in the right direction. We've got problems like every urban community does. But we are on the right path toward a better community. And I can say this as really the longest serving in terms of, I was elected in 1977. And I've watched mayors since then and councils since then. And I go back further than any, because I remember the Grant and the Kane and the Aruda and right up to the present. We've had a lot of bumps along the road. But we don't throw our city, and no previous government has thrown its city into turmoil as a result of the accusations that have been put upon a mayor. And there have been many previous mayors that have had accusations put upon them, and some of them have been even worse than these accusations. So much so that I believe one of our previous mayors was imprisoned for his action. And people may think about that and say, was that true? Yeah, yes, it was. So here's the story. This is the first time this has come before us. This motion now is in front of us. All of us have a chance to read it. If there's an inclination to really want to pursue this motion, I would suggest that either the maker of the motion make a motion to table it and then begin the process of deliberation. Bring in the experts to make a determination as to whether or not this mayor is capable or incapable of doing his duties. And let's also discuss the broader issue. If, in fact, the motion did prevail and the council then went to court, because that's what the council is going to be asking for if they adopt this motion, let's go to court and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not going to be an easy case. And we'll probably be paying, because usually when you go to court against an incumbent elected official, part of their request of a judge is going to be, the city has to pay my bills too. Not only their own lawyer, but they have to pay my lawyer if I prevail. So we better be prepared to spend a lot of money on this effort to discredit a person who's innocent before he's proven guilty. So I'm going to close for now I'm going to leave my options open, as I've discussed, as it relates to postponing any action. Because we don't need to act by mob rule. We don't need to act on one side or the other. Because both sides are bringing out their troops. And they're both doing a major lobbying effort to take out a particular point of view. And I say we need to take a deep breath, step back, and let's consider all that's being considered here, both what's being spoken and what's being unspoken. And I've talked a little bit about what's being unspoken. Are we ready for a long-term judicial bill in the hundreds of thousands of dollars on both sides? Because we would have a side from the mayor, and we would have a side from the council. I'd rather see that money spent on people, on streets and sidewalks and other things that are meaningful, rather than on a bunch of lawyers going to court to fight over something that's going to be resolved. And these things are on a quick path. When federal authorities come forward and accuse an incumbent mayor of the kinds of things that this government has accused our mayor of, they're going to make sure that that's a fast-track decision. So why should we jump on that bandwagon and put more money into the judicial system when we need it here in our city? And it's not going to be paid for by some federal grant, because nobody's going to give us any grant money to do this thing. So I am not going to let this thing go forward. I won't let this vote go forward. I will encourage the makers of the motion to understand that this is the truth, that this motion will not go forward tonight. And I know some may see that as heavy-handed. I see it as a time to pull back and to contemplate what we as an elected body are facing. And I want to finally say that few of us have been integrally involved in issues of crime and justice. But there is nothing more traumatic than to face the prospects of being in prison. And our mayor is now facing that prospect. We as a community don't need to turn on one of our own. Right now, I believe we need to stay united as a community, let the judicial system do its duty, and then if it so be that we need to then select a new person to lead our city, then we'll do that. We'll take that road once we get to it. But right now, that's not where we should be, and I will, at least personally, do my best to make sure that that's not what we do. At least that's not what we do tonight. And with that, I yield.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 2, Councilor Kamara.
Thank you. Senator Mason, can you come back up, please? We already waived the rules, so we don't have to waive them again. In your opinion, if this council is to vote, as my colleague in seat 1 had just stated, would we be breaking the law?
Excuse me?
Would we be breaking the law? Mike's on.
Well, I'm not sure I understand the question, but to an extent I understand it. I don't think you would be breaking the law, but I don't think you would be following the law. And I don't think your action would have legal force and effect.
Through the chair, I'd like to ask my colleague in seat 1 a question, please.
Councilor in seat 1.
Due to the fact that your opinion is, because of the pressure that the current mayor is under, he won't be able to perform his duties.
No.
Okay?
My feeling is that not only the pressure, but the fact that he's facing federal criminal charges against him, which is going to be very time-consuming, automatically puts him in a position not being able to perform his duties.
So because he won't have enough time to do his job, because he's going to be concentrating on other things.
Councilor, I'd ask you, if you were facing 192 years in jail, would your focus be on the city of Fall River?
Well, luckily, I'm not facing any of those charges, and luckily no one else is in this room that I know of. But I will say this. The solution to your plan is to let the council president be acting mayor. Last time I checked, the council president has a full-time job. And if you're worried about how much time we're going to have, this is a full-time job, full-time commitment.
I don't know, is the council president going to quit his full-time job and do this job full-time? I don't know that he is or not, I haven't had that discussion with him. But the concern goes all the way around. Whoever's going to fill that seat should do it on a full-time basis, whether it's the current mayor now, under the responsibilities that he has, was elected by the people, or if there's a recall, and I think, quite personally, that that's the train of action that should take place. I think if the people want to see him removed, as my colleague in Steve Tree said, the voters put him in that seat, and the voters have the right to take him out of that seat, as they have done previously. And the best way to resolve this issue would be for the recall election to take place. This way, it would give everybody an opportunity, the current mayor, to run for re-election as he feels he is capable of serving, and then the voters can decide on that as well. And anyone else who wants to serve, whether it be the council president or the council in seat 1, as a former recall candidate in an election, could do it again. And then the voters will determine who is in that position and for how long they're going to be in that position. I don't think we, as councilors here, should determine to replace this mayor with someone else, regardless of who it may be, until the next election. At least it should be for 90 days and have a special election so the voters can determine who that person should be. So I just wanted to get a clarification. I'm glad we're not going to break the law if we go down that road. I'm not saying I'm going to support it or not support it because I haven't decided yet. And I came here today with an open mind to hear everyone's discussion and everyone's argument as to why the mayor should stay or should go. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 5, Council Vice President LeBeau.
Thank you, Council President. I don't have any questions for you, Judge.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
I want to be very clear, as other councilors have been tonight, that the council is not here to find Jazel Carrere guilty or innocent. That's not our job. That's for the courts to decide. What we do know, the facts that we know, is that there is a 13-count federal indictment hanging above his head. He's been alleged of stealing $250,000 and falsifying tax returns. These are serious and significant charges for anybody to face. This council is here to do what's best for the city of Fall River. Right now, there is an enormous spotlight on Fall River, a negative spotlight. Media all over the country are talking about him, and by default, they're talking about Fall River. There is a lengthy list of public officials, governors, lieutenant governors, congressmen, senators, who are asking him to step down. These leaders are not going to want anything to do with him, and by default, they're not going to want anything to do with Fall River. The section in the charter that everyone is talking about tonight is Section 3-8, and I appreciate the judge's opinion, Attorney Rich's opinion, and Mr. Mayosa's opinion as well. What it doesn't say is that this absence needs to be physical, and what the mayor's own lawyer wrote in his letter to us today is that it could be physical or mental. I don't think that there's anybody with this hanging over their head that would be in their right mental state of mind, which the mayor himself admitted to today at his press conference. To my counselor in seat 3, I want to say this. This council didn't and isn't putting our city in turmoil. Jazel Carrere did that. The mob mentality, it would be a counselor who objects and not allows his colleagues their vote. As for not being able to focus on the business of the city, Thursday, Friday, Monday, and today, every day since the indictment, we have all been overrun with phone calls, emails, and text messages from all of the media that you see here tonight. The mayor's office was locked with police details out front. The city clerk's phones are ringing off the hook. How is business being conducted? This is not the normal course of business for city government. Today was another media circus. The mayor invited all employees, essentially, to a Snow Owl indictment infomercial at City Hall that lasted an hour. Is this productive to city business? Is this what the best use of our city employees' time is? Is this where they need to be? I respectfully, back up. We have several opinions here in front of us, and we all have our own. Various attorneys, I respectfully ask Jazel Carrere to step aside and tend to his legal troubles, and quite honestly, take the media spotlight with him and off of the city of Fall River. I yield to Councilor.
Thank you. Councilor in seat 7, Councilor Pelletier.
Thank you.
you know, I've been here for many, many years, and we've been through one recall, and I said to myself, there'll be no more recalls here at the city of Fall River. And who's to say, down the road, there could be a recall. It'd be so much easier knowing the charges that the mayor's got on him to say, hey, the people of Fall River. He keeps saying, I love Fall River. I love my family. I love my friends. But what he done, he should take the time and say, reflect a little bit. You went to college. You're supposed to be a smart man. What he done, I don't know what he was thinking, but it's wrong. What monies that he's got didn't belong to him. And the way he spent it was just crazy. So there is something wrong there. He should think about it and resign. And then, you know, if there's going to be a recall, I think that's the fastest way to do it, is a recall. We don't want to keep bouncing this thing around till next year. Because next year already, in September, it's a new election. So, do we want to deal with this going to next year? There's no way. I want to deal with it. And everybody's been through the same thing. Phone calls and the press and everything else. I'm in my pajamas at 10 o'clock. Hey, can you do an interview? No, I got my pajamas on. What do you think? You know, it's stuff like that. I go to bed early. I'm an old man. But that's besides the point. You know, they want to hear from you. They want to see you. Oh, well and good. We're all here. That's what I think you should resign. When you got the governor and the assistant governor and everybody else is saying, listen, you should resign. Do you think Governor Baker and the federal monies that come in to the city of Fall River is flowing slow enough now? It's going to flow even worse to the city of Fall River. They do not want to deal with the mayor. And it's up to us to make sure that everything is done possible to make sure we get all the monies that we can. And to do the right thing here is to ask him once again. You know, I go to church every Sunday, and I'll be praying that he just says, hey, I had enough. I know it's been tough for me. Every place I go shopping, every place. And it's tough. They stopping you. What do you think? No, they don't say, what do you think? They say bad words like, dump them, do this or do that. Well, I don't like to hear that too. But he must be hearing the same thing. You got a union here that wants him to resign. You got a bunch of emails. I don't have email because I don't like that stuff. But my girls give me all the emails that I deserve. And that's it. My phone, back and forth. I got 2 numbers. I'm on one line. The other line's ringing. Oh, come on. Give me a break. Jazel, do the right thing for the city of Fall River, for your family, and for everybody else. Step down for now. With that, I yield.
Thank you. Councilor in C4, Councilor Kilby.
Thank you, Mr. President. My intention coming in tonight, obviously, is to vote, and I know how I'm going to vote. But my intention wasn't to speak too much. I think, unless you live under a rock in the city, you know exactly what's going on. You know exactly how much these potential actions are hurting us as homeowners, business people. Just a little bit, you know, I've had much experience over the last 23 years as an attorney, but I have some. I've been up to federal district court on 3 or 4 occasions and represented criminal defendants, obviously. And I know how meticulous the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office is. I know the time that they spend on an indictment. The process is much different than Bristol County Superior Court and Bristol County District Court. I'm sure Attorney Macy would concur with that. Just think for a second how much taxpayer money it has already cost the federal government and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in putting this indictment together over the course of a year to 18 months. And it's always been articulated over the radio recently about the percentage rate of either a plea bargain or a conviction after trial. It's like 97%. This is difficult. I haven't had the closest relationship with the mayor. However, I truly feel bad for him. I feel bad for his family. I feel bad for his victims. And most importantly, I feel bad for the city of Fall River. As my colleagues have stated, a few of my colleagues here tonight, I think he knows what he has to do. I think his family knows what he has to do. I'm looking at his dad and his extended family. I can imagine the amount of pressure that's on your family and how much is on your son. But in the best interest of the city of Fall River, the best interest of his family, Jazel should step down from the office of mayor, period. Allow the city to heal, allow the city to move on. Otherwise, this is going to be a distraction for many, many months. I think my colleague said it's going to be on a fast track. Not necessarily. This is going to be drawn out for many, many months to come, and it's going to be a distraction of all the other things that we're trying to accomplish in the city of Fall River. So I urge, I'm prepared to vote. I disagree with my colleague at seat 3 saying this is mob rule. This is democracy. The people who are in this audience are here because they care about the mayor. They care about, not everyone wants the mayor removed here, but it's democracy. We could all be at home. We could be spending time with our families. This is how government is supposed to function. We're doing our job here as city councilors by Pam and Sean calling this special meeting. And back to the effectiveness of and a reputation of our city. From federal delegation, state delegation, they've all, with all the class they can muster, stated that he should step down for the betterment of the city of Fall River. Can you imagine being Carol Feil and Mike Rogers, Paul Schmidt, Mr. Silva, being up at the State House, and the non-humorous jokes that are being told behind their back and about our city? It's step aside, Jazel, do what's right, and I think it'll be like a weight lifted off his shoulders when he does that. So, I yield.
Thank you, Councilor in seat 8, Councilor Viveris.
Thank you. I haven't commented on this yet, and like my colleagues have given this quite a bit of thought since Thursday, and I respect what everybody has said, my colleagues, the residents, the administration, and anybody who's offered their input over the last several days. And while looking at this, there are a lot of angles to look at. There's a lot of angles. You got a situation where the city is at a standstill, right? We're trying to get past this chaos that's in front of us. We've got the phone calls, the emails, that we need to respond to, and a motion here on the table that's in front of us. On the other hand, we're also looking at, we're making a vote here where are we supposed to, do we have the jurisdiction to make this vote? And is that the right way to go about it? In my heart, and knowing what we know, I think that the mayor has lost his effectiveness by the state officials asking him to resign, and I think that that's a big problem for the city. And I weigh that on one side, and I weigh us making this decision whether or not he needs to be temporarily removed from office, and again, whether or not that's within our jurisdiction. So this has been tough. I'm still going back and forth and listening to what my colleagues are saying, but that's where I am. That's where I stand, and I feel confidently that when it's time to take the vote, I will make the vote that I feel is best for the city of Fall River. So with that, I yield.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Councilor in seat 3, Councilor Kamara.
I feel badly that I've heard at least 2 of my councilors stating comments that are comments that you would hear after someone was convicted. Acting mayor into a position where there is a mayor, I don't know if the president can answer this question. Maybe we have to call on our city administrator or our city clerk. We've had previous acting mayors. Madam Clerk, do you know if our previous acting mayors collected only their city council salary during the duties as acting mayor?
I do not, Council.
You don't know? Do the city administration know? Okay. I know we've had a couple of acting mayors. Well, this is another reason. What's this going to cost us to implement this? What's the cost factor? What's it going to cost? Because we already have a letter from Greenberg Traurig that any action of this kind is going to immediately go to court. I understand this is a pretty heavy-duty law firm. Are we prepared to pay this law firm's bills? Because if they prevail, they'll be seeking legal cost so their lawyers could represent our lawyers, and which also Judge Macy has implied that he's going to hire special counsel, outside counsel, to pursue this. He's going to sit down with the council president, and I guess they'll determine a appropriate law firm to go against this multi-million-dollar law firm that's representing the other side. So, where are the answers to these questions? Mr. President, what is the answer to the question as to whether an acting mayor gets a salary?
I don't have the answer to that, but I'd be glad to read you page 18 of the city charter, powers of acting mayor.
No,
if you'd like.
I don't need that.
All right, well, I can also tell you that
I'll yield my point in just a moment.
I could tell you. I'm not sure if this weighs on any of your questions.
Well,
that,
does it relate to salary?
Can I answer the question, please?
Salary, yes.
All right. Let me. You asked me a question. I'm going to answer it.
Okay.
It says. Can you stop?
What section are you referring to?
I'm talking about section 3-8, paragraph B, where it says powers of the acting mayor, where it says the city council president or any other city council who may be serving as acting mayor pursuant to section 3-8, section C, shall not act as a member of the city council. I don't have any. There's nothing in this charter that indicates anything about salary.
Right. But we have precedent. We had, I believe, Bill Whitty, I think Dan Bogan, there may have been others. So we've got some unanswered questions.
Those mayors also resigned, Councilor.
What's that, please?
Those mayors also resigned from office. Just so you know.
Well, in the case of Dan Bogan, the mayor ended up becoming a clerk magistrate.
So he resigned from his office, Mayor.
They weren't, right.
As did,
so there's still unanswered questions. So before we vote on this, I just want to declare that I intend to object. I object to our having a vote on this until we have full opportunity for increased deliberation and increased input. And I also want to underscore something else about a story that Ms. Blanchette presented about his son. And I think that this is an unfortunate thing, but I think it's also a great opportunity for a learning experience, because kids need to understand that this is a traumatic situation, but this is also a lesson in civics and a lesson in the law, and something that we can all learn from, no matter what our age and whether we're in school or not. So I don't see this as a overwhelmingly detrimental thing to our community. And I also want to say that as I drive around the city today, I saw street workers repairing sidewalks and streets. I saw the trash being picked up. I saw government functioning as it should be functioning. So I don't think there's any fear, I have no fear, that this government will function properly. We've got a city administrator.
Move the question.
A city
Motion
financial
to
officer
move
as
the
well.
question has been made
So
by
I've
Councilor
indicated my
Kadim.
intent to object, and I would ask
Move
the
the question. There's no
President to
discussion.
determine if
There's
there are
no
any
discussion.
others that are
Just as a point of information, I would like to indicate we are on page 11 of the city charter under section 2-9 ordinances and other measures where it says charter objection. On the first occasion that the question of adoption of a measure is put to the city council, if a single councilor present objects to the taking of the vote shall be postponed until the next meeting of the city council, whether regular or special. If more than one councilor present objects, such postponement shall be until the next regular meeting, which is next Tuesday. If it is an emergency measure, at least 3 councilors must object. This procedure shall not be used more than once for any specific matter, notwithstanding an amendment to the original matter. A charter objection shall have privilege over all motions, but must be raised prior to or at the call for a vote by the presiding officer, and all debate shall cease. Roll call, Madam Clerk. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
On the motion,
Mr.
Councilor
President,
Kadim.
there was a
Yes.
objection.
I didn't hear you object.
I said I object.
That was
I
a
didn't-
yes,
I didn't hear
Madam
that.
Clerk. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. President, you
His
did not.
objection, he objected.
You did not hear me object?
We can continue with a roll call.
No.
No,
think
no.
that's-
You just read what the provision is when there is one councilor that objects. And you told me you would seek to see whether there is a
Council
second
President
or a
just
third.
didn't hear
Is
you
there any further?
object
Is there any
during
further
the roll call.
objections? Is there any further objections?
Need 3, correct?
Is there any further objections? Hearing none.
There's no vote in objection, Councilor.
I can ask if there's a further objection. And I did, and there isn't.
Mr. President,
we are currently.
can I make it?
We are currently going back to the item that is before us, which
Object.
is two.
There's 2 now.
There's 2 objections. Okay. Councilor in seat 1.
Mr. President, can I make
move to
I make a
adjourn.
motion that we
There's a motion.
take a vote
there's a
of no
motion to it.
confidence in the mayor.
There's a motion. There's a motion to it. If one person can speak at a time, that'd be great. Councilor,
motioned to adjourn.
He spoke first.
I've motioned to adjourn.
2-minute recess.
I've motioned to adjourn.
We are in recess.
It's non-debatable.
This meeting will now be called back to order. Councilor in seat 1, Councilor Kadim.
I move that we take a vote to.
You're going to make a motion?
A vote of no confidence. in
Motion to
Mayor
make a
Jazel
vote of
Correa.
motion to make a vote of no confidence by Councilor in seat 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Council Vice President LeBeau.
I move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn has been made by Councilor Camara, Stephen Camara, seconded by Councilor Joseph
Roll
Camara.
call.
Roll call.
Call.
Councilor
To
Kadim.
adjourn.
No.
Stifling democracy.
This is on the motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Stephen Kamara.
Yes.
Kilby.
No.
Bellavity LeBeau.
No.
Long.
No.
Pelletier.
No.
Viveras. President Ponti.
No. We have the item that is before us right now. We ask for decorum in the chamber, please. We have the item that is still before us. The City Council requests to address recent issues
I made a motion,
relating to
Mr.
the mayor,
President.
Jazel Correa. Is there a motion?
I made a motion to take a vote of no confidence in Mayor Jazel Correa II.
Motion to make a vote of no confidence has been made by Councilor Kadim, seconded by Councilor Pelletier.
Mr.
Discussion?
President, I object, and we have another motion that's already on the floor. You can't have 2 motions on the floor.
Councilor, you objected to the motion.
I objected to this
Point of order.
original motion.
Point of order. That
Councilor in seat one.
automatically gets carried over to the next meeting. So there's
Correct.
no motion.
We're
on
not
the
even
table.
talking about that motion.
Okay, so
Councilor
that's
in
been
seat 1.
automatically carried
That
to the
has.
next meeting.
Councilor in seat 1 has a motion before us right now, a vote of no confidence that has been made and seconded. Did you say you object?
To the vote, the motion of no confidence.
There's an objection to the vote of no confidence that has been made by Councilor Stephen Camara. Hearing any further objections?
Object.
Councilor in seat 2 objected. Councilor in seat 4, Councilor Kilby.
motion by this council requesting that Jazel Kamara resign from his seat as mayor.
Second. Motion to have motion made by Councilor Kilby for Mayor Jazel Kamara to step down from office has been made by Councilor Kilby, seconded by Councilor Kadim.
I
Discussion.
object to this motion.
Councilor in seat 3 has objected. Councilor in seat 3 has objected. Is there any further objections? Hearing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second the motion to adjourn.
Can I object to that?
Sure you can.
No, it's not debatable.
Motion has been made by Councilor Long to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Stephen Kamara. All those in, want a roll call on this? Roll call, Madam Clerk, on adjournment.
Councilors Kadim?
Yes.
Joseph Kamara?
Yes.
Stephen Kamara?
Yes.
Kilby?
Yes.
Lullaby LeBeau?
Yes.
Long?
Yes.
Pelletier?
Yes.
Viveras?
Yes.
President Ponti?
Yep. Motion to adjourn.